The moment you tell yourself you want to be successful in life, you have to pass through 5 set of principles under the principles of success. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the first principles you have to work with when you come here, the first principle you have to overcome that principle and know it. The first principle is what we call the principle of. People will tell you that success is by reading books, but that is not the case, because I've read a lot of books like Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Subtle Act of Not Giving a Fuck, The Richest Man in Babylon, Rich Dad Poor Dad. In fact, I even saw a video whereby someone is selling Think and Grow Rich and he's running and trying to persuade someone to buy. Like, why wouldn't the person just read the Think and Grow Rich and grow rich? Like, why is it following people to buy the book that are in the car? So, like I always say, I spent 5 years on the internet looking for ways to make money online, and God has revealed to me a lot of things by reading Bible, by listening to some of my prophets, by just opening up my mind and looking at how life works from a broader perspective. And that is only possible when you observe. So I'm someone that observes so much in life. I look at life and I observe, and I'm very open-minded to learn a lot of things. I learn every single day. I've come to realize that life is actually very simple if you work principles. Every single thing in life has principles. Work with principles. God set principles. Let me just tell you something now. Do you know that God set principles that Him Himself had to come and follow the principles He set for Himself? Now let me tell you, if you can recall in the Garden of Eden, right? Adam and Eve, the story of Adam and Eve, the first human beings. So God told Adam and Eve that do not eat from the fruits of good and evil. You can eat freely. Have I given you every other tree you can eat from? But from the tree of good and evil, thou shalt not eat, because when thou eat, thou shalt die. Right? Good. So that is the principle of condemnation, of fall. If they eat the fruits of that tree, they will die. Guess what happened? They ate it, and that is why they died. So guess what happened next? So God had mercy on man. I'm not preaching, but I'm just telling you the reality of how things work. God had mercy on man, and God had to come down in form of man, that is Jesus Christ, to die for us, so that as a sacrifice to break that principle that He set, that whoever ate the fruits in the garden will die. So God came and gave us life back as a sacrifice. He had to come and then follow His own principles that He set, and had to use Himself as a sacrifice because of how He loved us, because He doesn't want us to be condemned because of the principle He set for us not to eat the fruits in the garden. Not literally us, but Adam and Eve. But you get the point. So I'm just trying to make you understand the significance of how important principles are. There are principles for everything. That is why you have the law of motion, gravitational law. All of these are principles of gravitation, principles of attraction, law of attraction. Principles and law are the same thing. I'm just get the point. Now, what's the principles of success? What do you think the principles of success are? Now, the moment you tell yourself you want to be successful in life, you have already told yourself that you have to follow the principles of success. So now, for you to follow the principles of success to be successful in life, this is you here. Let me draw you. This is you here. The moment you tell yourself you want to be successful in life, you have to pass through 5 set of principles under the principles of success. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the first principles you have to work with when you come here, the first principle you have to overcome that principle and know it. The first principle is what we call the principle of imagination. That is the first principle. When you say you want to be successful, the first principles you have to have is the principle of imagination. Now, what does the principle of imagination state? The principle of imagination states, as a man thinketh, so is he. As a man thinketh, so is he. Now, look at it this way. If you want me to do something for you, you have to conceive in your mind what you want me to do for you. You have to imagine first. Okay, I want Victor to do this thing for me. I want this guy. I want my dad. I want God. You have to first of all imagine it in your mind first. I want a car. It has to be in the mind first. The first principle of success is imagination. You have to imagine what you want first. As a man thinketh, so is he. Now, the second principle of success is what? The principles of affirmation. The principle of affirmation is the next principle. What does it state? It states in Proverb 18:21. Tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruits. You have to understand something. You see, for instance, now you want to make money on the internet and you're always doubting. You're always not believing in yourself. You're working against the principle for your own self. There is a lot of reasons why people never reach success, because they don't apply these principles. People have to be begging them. They have to be going to church. You have to be reading self-help books. Why? Because you simply don't understand the principles. Now I am explaining these things to you. Please take what I'm telling you serious. People are suffering in life because they don't understand the principles of life. You have to apply this principle. and you have to understand it. You have to understand it. You imagine first what you want, then you affirm, you talk it to existence. I want a car, this is what I want. You talk to yourself in prayer. That is why you need to pray, because God knows that if you don't pray, you don't talk what you want. So that's why sometimes God intentionally allows you to pass through challenges so that you talk, so that you learn how to use your mouth and affirm things and talk into action. If you want car, you pray, God, I want car. God, I want to be successful. Yes, I want healing. I want a baby. I want this. I want that. You have to learn how to utterance, the principle of talking into existence. I'm trying to make you understand this thing. Now you have understood these two principles. One, two, you have understand these two principles. You're coming to the next one now. Now the third principle is the principle of sacrifice. The principle of sacrifice. What does the principle of sacrifice state? Now the principle of sacrifice states now in Psalms 50 verse 5. Now, gather to me these consecrated people who made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Why do you think wicked people are most at times successful than good people? If you're a good person, why do you see wicked people successful than you? Because wicked people apply principles. They know all of these things. They understand these things. They sacrifice some things to their gods. They sacrifice things. Principles of sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice? What are the things you're willing to sacrifice? You want to make money online, especially. You watch one video, you don't apply the video. You watch 1 million videos, you're confused. They tell you to pay for a course, you don't want to pay for the course. You're afraid of, okay, what if I lose? You don't want to sacrifice anything, because in sacrifice, you don't care. You lose things in sacrifice. You take things and give it out. You don't hold on to things when you want to sacrifice. Look at when Abraham wanted to sacrifice, when God told Abraham to sacrifice his only child. He didn't think twice about it. It's not you have money, you don't want to sacrifice it. You don't want to take the risks. How do you're still stuck in the third principle. You have not understood it. How do you intend to be successful? Principle of sacrifice. Now, under the principle of sacrifice is now where we have the biggest and where a lot of people are stuck. Now, under the principle of sacrifice, we have the principle of work. Now, the principles of work is the hardest. It's the hardest journey you pass. The hardest journey. The principle of work is the hardest journey, to be honest with you, because it is under the principle of sacrifice. After you sacrifice, there are things you have to work. As you're working to, you have to sacrifice. See, these things are what are the work? Now, the principles of work states. Now, this is the principles of work. This is my own definition of the principles of work. Now, but it's generally that is what it is. You have power to put in input, but you have no control over how the input comes out. How the input comes out, it is your own power. It is your own muscles to use your capability, your capacity to do what you have to do. Now, it is not in your own power to bring out the outcomes. That is what you have to understand. It's not your own power. How the outcome comes out, you're not in control of it. So now let's say you have corn. You sow corn, right? You sow corn, you want to wait for it to harvest. It's your own power to water the corn. It's your own power to clear the weeds. It's your own power to put manure, to put fertilizer, organic, and all of this, take care of for it to grow. Now you know that you want corn and you're doing everything it takes. You have to understand this is the hardest principle. This is the hardest part where a lot of people suffer in life. You have to understand that within this time of putting in the work, you have to have the principle of patience, endurance. You have to have the principles of season. Now we'll go into the last principle very soon. But you have the principle of patience, endurance, long suffering. You have to have those principles. You have to understand all of those other principles. Now, all of these other principles are branches, and they have what they state. But I'm just trying to paraphrase all of these principles here so you understand how these things work. So now you don't have the power of the outcomes. You can do whatsoever you want to do. Now, for instance, let's say you do all the things, you do all the watering, you do all the manure, putting all the manure, you do everything necessary to make that plant come out. What if birds now come and infest your farm and destroy your plants? You don't have the power for the outcomes. So what do you now do to prevent that thing happening? You now have to work with all those other principles that you have to understand. You affirm, God, I pray over my farm. Protect my farm. The principles of protection. Protect my farm. The principles of sacrifice. Lord, I will sacrifice something for you so that you protect my farm. So that, please, Lord, avoid every bad thing, every bad eye, every evil eye over my farm. These are the principles of protection over your work. Now, the last principles I'm going to talk about here is principles of time and season. What does principles of time and season states? In Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, it says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heavens. So you have to understand that even if you do everything, you have to be patient. You have to be patient. You have to persevere. You have to understand that there is time. Young people and a lot of people don't understand time. That is why people are go into wrong things. They jump into things from one things to another. You want to learn affiliate marketing, you jump from affiliate marketing because you don't understand the times and seasons. You don't understand the principles of work. You're too lazy. You don't want to work. You don't affirm. You don't imagine that you can be successful. All of these principles compacted together is what will now reveal, is what will now make whole. You have to understand how these things work. Please, if you're getting value from this video, like it, share with your friends. Someone needs to understand how principles of life works, principles of success. You have to understand all of what I've just told you right now. You have to use them. You have to use them. You have to conceptualize them. Come to an understanding. Come to a consciousness of all of these things I've mentioned, because that is the only way you can be successful. That is why we have very few people that are successful, because plenty people don't want to use the principles of this world. They don't want to use the God has set principles, just like how you have the principles of gravitation, gravitational force, law of gravitation, law of motion. Something is in motion except another force hits it or come in contact with it. Law of motion, law of aerodynamics. You read physics, you look at physics has laws, and you think that other things don't have law. There's a law of success. There is law of everything. Please use principles. I'm going to continue this video. If you like it, please comment what you have learned. Comment where you're watching from. Comment what you have learned. If you like this kind of content, I am going to be making more of this kind of content. In fact, I'm going to even keep on making more, because there's a lot of principles you have to work. You have to understand. There's branches of all these principles. Now, you have to understand that for you to get successful, for you to become successful, you have to apply 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 principles that I've mentioned. You have to understand it, conceptualize it, and understand it. That is the only way you can be successful. That is what God has revealed to me, and that is the reality of life. I'm not telling you this in based on my own perception. I don't have a perception. This is how life works. See you in the next one. Bye. Subscribe and share with your friends. Please, if you love your family and friends, share it with them so that they understand how these things work. Bye for now.